Good morning, everyone. I hope your day is going well. I saw a really fun movie this last weekend, and I wanted to tell you all about it. If you clicked on this video somehow not knowing about Iron Lung, it's a completely self-financed movie, produced, written, directed, and starring Markiplier, based on a video game of the same name. I went to go see it, I had a good time, and now I'm going to tell you if you should see it too. This video is pretty much completely unscripted, so it's gonna be pretty rambly, but in an attempt to be more organized, I made myself a list of questions about the movie that I'll be answering. Everything will be timestamped and spoiler-free, except for a tiny section at the end, where I'm just gonna yell about some specific stuff that I don't want to give away. So yeah, hope you all enjoy. Have a seat, grab your Iron Lung 3D printed popcorn bucket, and get comfortable. Let's talk about the Blood movie. Alright, first question on the docket. How does the film look? Be it cinematography, production design, etc. This movie looks very, very good. It has a limited budget, but I don't think it really shows in any aspect. Obviously, the setting lends itself to a lower budget because you only, need one set, but I think they went above and beyond, and yeah, I thought it looked really nice. There were a lot of creative shots, a lot of fun lighting, everything just looked really, really good. Like I said, the budget didn't show all that much. If you get into your head about it, you can see why they did things a certain way, like why they picked this concept, but over time, you kind of just get into what's going on itself, and you kind of stopped thinking about that. What I mean is, it never felt cheap, it looks excellent, there's lots of really good cinematography, and if you've looked at my art at all, you know that I love lighting, and I loved the lighting in this movie. It looked really nice. I guess, there are a couple of shots that I might have done differently if I guess if somehow I was directing this movie. A couple of the scenes are pretty dark, and obviously it was intentional for dramatic effect, but at the same time, kind of hard to see what's going on, and some of the scenes were hard to tell. It was a bit hard to tell what was happening, but they had a bit of a limited color palette for reasons I won't get into, so it's kind of understandable, just something I wanted to point out. Next question on the bullet point list. How was the plot? Was the story compelling and good? I intentionally did not research the game at all before going to see this. I had seen Markiplier's original playthrough from several years ago, and I remembered the base concept from that, but I never watched the quote-unquote lore update, and I intentionally didn't research it because I kind of wanted to see if the story could hold up on its own. And for the most part, it does. I liked the story quite a lot. Like I said, I've now played the game now, but at the time when I wrote my notes about this script, I couldn't tell you how well it matched the game, and I initially believed that, Mark had added a lot of stuff to flesh things out, but I learned that, no, apparently it's just very accurate to what information we're given in the game. And so, yeah, I think that ended up working out. Like I said, like the story quite a bit. I like the directions it goes. I think it's pretty good. One thing, while I do think it stands on its own from the game, I think that it might have helped it a bit to have a bit more exposition, because they kind of drop you in pretty cold, and that's obviously intentional, but they don't explain a lot of stuff until quite a bit later, and I think that's intentional too, but it's also just a bit confusing. I think you could still have a lot of the mystery because a lot of this movie is uncovering mysteries and figuring out what's going on a bit, and I think you could still have that feeling while also explaining the base concept a little bit more, because they explain what the quiet rapture is at the start of the movie, but it's in 2 sentences, and our theater everyone got kind of excited at the start, so I almost like missed the explanation. Like I even like missed part of it. So I was like, did they actually explain what was going on? I think they did, but I feel like maybe they could have they could have talked about it just a tiny bit more, you know. And I don't think it would have hurt the slow burn mystery feeling they were going for. It might have helped a little bit. I've seen I've seen some criticism of this movie saying that, like, oh, it's boring. Disagree pretty hard on that, but it is a slow burn. It is a slowly mounting tension over time, and the movie definitely takes its time to build that tension and atmosphere, and I think that is the reason that it works so well. Like, part of me just gets so annoyed when people call this movie boring, because I've been bored in movies before. This was not one of them. And, like, part of me, when I see people say that, like, it's too long and boring, part of me just wants to be like, oh, what? You couldn't last 2 hours without the jangling keys helping you out? But I think that is a little bit unfair to those people who are making that criticism. I think, like, if I were to step outside my genuine love and enjoyment for this movie, I can see that, like, the first act does go a little slow. Maybe a little slower than it needed to for the story. I can acknowledge that. But I think anyone who is just tossing the whole thing out, calling the whole movie boring, I just think that's extremely uncharitable. Like, I don't need to tell you this movie's not perfect. I don't think anyone expected it to be perfect. But I think it's genuinely very good, and I just don't appreciate when people will just find one thing they don't like about something and just harp on that forever and say the movie's ruined because of that. I don't know. I've been on this point too long. Just, I don't think it's boring. That's the point. At some points, it might be a little bit too slow, even though the slow burn aspect is intentional. But for the most part, I think it works super well, and I did not have a problem with it. And I think that if you go, you're gonna enjoy it. Might not be for everyone, but I think that you should try it out. Anyway, I'm gonna move on now before we get stuck on this too long. The characters. I wanted to take a minute to think about characters in the film. First of all, are there any characters besides Mark? And the actual big question, is it just unbelievably distracting to have Markiplier be the main character?
Meow.
And most of the movie, it is just Mark's character, but there are some other characters here. I'm not going to get into them too much, because I think that kind of counts as spoiler territory, but I think they gave really good performances, and I appreciate them being in there. And Mark as well, for the most part, did a really good job, acting-wise. I was worried that I would just be seeing Markiplier the whole time, and that's a bit of a problem for the first, 10 or so minutes of the film, but then you really settle in, and I don't think it's a bit of a problem. It's pretty easy to get immersed and forget about the YouTuber aspect of it. There are a couple times where his voice goes up into a certain register, and it just kind of pinged my brain that, oh, that's Markiplier. And there were a couple of line reads that I didn't think were the best. I would have done them a little differently, again, if I was somehow directing this in some alternate universe. But for the most part, I think he did a really good job, and it was just really good. And as many people have pointed out, it's really difficult to have a movie where it's just one character on screen the whole time, and I think Mark pulls it off really well. And also, if any of you went to this movie and you managed to convince, your parents or your cousins or whoever to come, basically, if you manage to get someone to come with you who doesn't know Markiplier at all, please tell me what they thought about him and his acting, because I'm genuinely curious. I'd love to know what a true outsider to the YouTube sphere would think about his acting skills. So if you know anything about that, please let me know. And also, one final thing, Jacksepticeye is in this movie at one point. I'm not going to elaborate at all. If you want to figure it out, you're going to have to go see the movie for the maybe 2 days, it might be available still. I know this video is kind of, I saw it on the weekend, but I'm getting it out as fast as possible, I promise. Next question. Is this movie scary? Specifically, I was looking to see if there was a feeling of claustrophobia, if it really felt like you were trapped within the iron lung. And at first, I wasn't really sold on how the ship looked inside. I was expecting it to be much more cramped and much smaller, but throughout the film, it really grew on me. The movie does a very good job of really selling that you are trapped in this iron lung in a blood ocean, and you can really feel the weight of that and how scary it is to be trapped in that situation. So yeah, I think it succeeded at feeling claustrophobic in that way. And there are some scenes that are like actual claustrophobia of being in like a very small space. I won't get into that, but they're there too. Most of the time, though, besides that, I wouldn't categorize it as super scary in a traditional sense. It's very tense. There's a lot of build-up dread as you keep expecting something to happen. That's part of the slow burn aspect. But it's not like boo scary in the traditional sense, which I think is very fitting for an adaptation of Iron Lung, because the original game is a tense experience largely because of its atmosphere. The graphics aren't particularly scary, the jump scare gets you because it's sudden at the end. Sorry, spoiler for the original game, but I don't feel bad about spoiling the end of the original game. Maybe I'll cut this part out. Maybe I won't. Anyway, the original game works because it is a lot of tension building over a long time based on the atmosphere, the thought of being trapped down in this submarine here, and like maybe there's something but you don't know for sure. There's like kind of weird noises, but nothing happens for a really long time. And so it really rides on that build-up for a long time, and I think the movie does a very good job of that as well. But for the most part, it's not scary in the traditional sense. There are some scenes that are scary, I think, in a traditional sense. But most of the movie is about the dread and just the tension of being trapped somewhere with no idea how you'll survive. And also, there's something out there, and also the ocean is made of blood. So, and I think it does a really good job with the tension it's trying to create. I think it's very successful with that. And speaking of blood, how much blood is there? What level of blood and body horror are we looking at? First thing I'd like to point out is that this is actually the first R-rated movie that I've ever seen. I had never seen any other R-rated movies in my life, and so that was kind of exciting. And I wanted to get an idea of how gory this movie was gonna be compared to other horror-type movies, so me and my husband actually did a bit of a double feature, where after we got home, we watched The Thing together. And for a while watching Iron Lung, I wasn't sure if that was actually going to be necessary, because for a while it doesn't do a lot with blood. You see some occasionally, but it doesn't do a lot. But then it does do a lot of blood. It does a whole lot of blood. They use the most fake blood ever of all time for a reason. There's blood and body horror and gross stuff, and I now understand why Mark went to the hospital for getting, like, fake blood in his eyes and ears. So, yeah. Just to do I'm gonna do a little comparison with one of the scenes from The Thing, just so if you're someone who's, kind of squeamish, you can, the scenes from The Thing are pretty easy to find. You can look them up on YouTube, and I'm gonna make a comparison to kind of show you the level of, gore you'd be dealing with in the, Iron Lung movie. If you want, like, no spoilers whatsoever on what any of it will even be like, you can skip to this timestamp. And also in this section, I'm gonna go over some, like, I guess some trigger warning stuff that I think might be important for people to know before you decide if you want to see this. Yeah, but if you don't want to know anything at all, you can just skip to this time code here. Good? Okay. So there's the scene in The Thing where they're using the defibrillator There's a scene in The Thing where they're using the defibrillator on the guy's chest, and the chest becomes a mouth and bites this dude's hands off, right? Imagine that, but the room is way smaller, and everything is covered in like 200 gallons of blood. If you can handle like that scene, the idea of that scene, I think you'll be totally fine in Iron Lung. It does go pretty crazy in some aspects like that, but yeah. Also, this scene from Chicken Run, but imagine the gravy is blood. If you think you can handle that, you'll also be totally fine. And like I said, general warnings for some stuff I think people might want to know about. There's a couple of moments that might be bad for people with trypophobia. Sorry. There's not a lot of it, but I wanted to mention it anyway, just in case. Let's see. There's also, I wanted to give a bit of a flashing lights warning. In the original game, there's the mechanic of you taking a picture by pressing the button on the back wall, and it's pretty understated, it's not very flashy. It can be kind of flashy in this movie because they use it for dramatic lighting and the picture fading from like the wall screen. They do like this weird reversing colors type effect that might be bothersome. Most of the time, the flash is indicated by him pressing the button. Like, there's a very clear indicator of when it's gonna happen. I just wanted to give a bit of a warning because it is a little intense. I thought it looked super cool because I love lighting, but someone who gets seizures might not like it very much. So, yeah, just a tiny warning there. And last one, there's a really up close and personal scene of someone vomiting. I didn't have a problem with it, but several people in our theater had a really visceral reaction to it, so I thought that maybe it was something worth mentioning, you know? So, yeah, I think, I don't know. I just wanted to give some warning to some people in case they were unsure if they wanted to see this, whether you see it in theaters or you want to see it, like, on a physical copy later. Just some warnings. Don't have to listen to me. Yeah. Quick shout out I wanted to give to the costuming department. I think that what Mark's character wears throughout the movie and how his appearance changes throughout the movie is very, very cool and deserves a lot of praise. That's partially the costuming, partially makeup department, all that sort of stuff, but I just felt the need to give it a little shout out because it's really good. And the final question that I wanted to ask is, should Markiplier make another movie? And I'll be honest, me asking that question as a question is kind of misleading because I decided that the answer was yes before even seeing the movie, because I just think it's a really huge and amazing accomplishment that this movie exists at all. It's clearly an indie film, but it really deserves to be on the big screen, and I wasn't expecting anything perfect, but this is genuinely a really, really good movie. And the fact that it's like the first full-length movie that Markiplier has done, and it's his first try, basically. You can argue that his YouTube stuff kind of helped prepare him, but the fact is he has no, like, formal training in the art of filmmaking. It's all self-taught, and so I think he did an excellent job with this, and it might not be a perfect movie, but I do think it's a really, really good one. And I really would like him to do other projects at some point in the future. I'd like him to take a bit of a break first, because he's working on this for a long time, and I think he probably will, based on how much live streaming he's been doing. But yeah, at some point in the future, hopefully when he makes another movie, I really, really want to go see it. I love this movie a lot. And speaking of that, I just want to take a minute to talk about my theater experience, because it was probably one of the most fun theater experiences that I had. First of all, I think it's a huge accomplishment that this movie has started to get attention from, like, the big theaters like Regal and Cinemark or whatever. But I also really love that this movie has essentially gotten a ton of people to go to really small, like, indie theaters that don't usually get a lot of attention except from, like, artsy people, if that makes sense. Our theater that we went to was less of a movie theater and more of a theater in the traditional sense. Like, I think they show movies, but they also put on stage plays. And before Iron Lung actually showed, like, before the actual movie played, they played some trailers, right? But it's trailers for, like, movies that have come out several years ago, because usually that's what they show, just like older movies that they're able to show for special events and stuff like that, and like really artsy movies that they show all the time type thing. And so that was interesting. But even before that, when we were all just like waiting for the movie to start, they had like this slideshow thing playing of like future stuff they were gonna put on. There was like an advertisement for an interactive screening of The Room, whatever that is. They were playing Hundreds of Beavers the next day, if you've ever heard of that movie. And it was just like a really fun vibe as everyone trickled in, and like it was good vibes. But the best part is, during that slideshow, before like the trailers and the actual movie, they were playing FNAF ambience over the speakers. And I know that sounds like made up, but I'm completely serious. They played Schubert's Serenade and Nowhere to Run and the Princess Quest music, I think. And I think they must have just put on like a playlist of FNAF ambience, because the random circus music sound effect from the first game played at one point. And like, I'm really kicking myself because I was gonna like record some of the audio, but I felt kind of awkward, and I basically convinced myself that it wasn't that important. And I'm really kicking myself for it because it was so fun, and it really set the tone and got me in the mood for the movie. And so I'm really happy I got to have that experience. And I think we'll probably be going to this theater for other things moving forward because yeah. And I think it's really cool that Iron Lung probably did that for a lot of people. It got them to come out to a place where they wouldn't normally go and experiencing something that they wouldn't normally experience. And maybe they might go back to like these little hole-in-the-wall theaters, you know what I mean? Like, I love the idea of that happening. And yeah, just in general, I want Mark to keep making movies so that we can keep seeing them, because they're really good, and I hope that this can inspire a lot of indie creators to just swing for the fences with things, you know? And yeah, if you couldn't tell, I really liked this movie, and I think you'll like it too. So if you get a chance, please go see it. And now I'm gonna do a teeny tiny spoiler section that's not gonna be that long, because I didn't really think about it beforehand, so I just quickly wrote down like 3 things I wanted to talk about. I wish that Ava and Simon had gotten to talk a little bit more to like build up their relationship and their separate worldviews, so that Simon switching from oh, I just want to take care of me, to the more this is bigger than me, I want to save humanity mindset. I felt like they could have showed like why he changed his mind a bit more. It could have just been out of spite because he didn't want to die, and I think that's fine too. But yeah, I think the scenes where they implied that something else was actually inside the ship with him, those were the scariest parts, like the most traditional, like, scariest parts, where when it was implied that someone else was also in the ship, like, I think that was actually legitimately terrifying. Like, just that thought of like, oh, by the way, you're not alone in here. Like, that was terrifying. And I wish they could have like done more scenes like that. I get why they didn't. Probably a bit of a like don't overdo it type thing, but it was really cool, and I think it worked really well. And third thing that I thought of just now is I think it's very funny that Jack's cameo involved him getting hit with the mega cancer ray and like getting 1 billion tumors. And it's like obviously super cool that he got to like have a cameo and be there, but also it's a little bit funny that the role that Mark gave him was like, oh yeah, my friend is in this movie, I'm gonna have him be the guy that gets the most blasted with radiation and full of tumors and has just a terrible time. Like, I don't know. Like, within the context of the movie, what happens to Jack the character is like horrifying, and Simon feels really bad about it. But from a meta standpoint, it's very funny that Mark decided, yeah, I'm gonna give my buddy turbo cancer in my movie. But yeah, I'm sure as soon as I stop recording, I'll think of some things I wish I could have mentioned in this tiny, like, 1 minute long spoiler section. But if you're here, I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to tag your spoilers in the comments. Like, just, we gotta keep it on the down low, people. Like, even though it's amazing how many theaters this got to, there's still a lot of people who haven't seen the movie, so let's be courteous, yeah? Okay, yeah. Anyway, should probably do the outro now. One sec. Overall, I think this movie is very, very good. And I can begrudgingly admit that it's probably not a movie for everyone. Some people are going to think it's too slow, even if they're not, like, brain-rotted. Some people just don't like slow burn movies. Some people will think the acting's not good enough. Some people won't like the gore. Some people will be confused because it is a confusing movie. But I genuinely really love what this film did. Is it the best movie ever? No. But I love it a lot, and I think that it genuinely is a very good movie. And I think that I'm just really looking forward to whatever Mark creates in the future. And I think you should all go and support it. And I'm super happy that I got to see it. If you're able to participate in Mark's blood drive thing that he's doing, that's fine. Not fine. That's good. That's good. You should do that. That's what I meant to say. And if you're seeing this review in, I don't know, a couple of years, you could probably just go donate blood. I don't know exactly how it works, but I think it's probably a good thing to do. And yeah, I mentioned earlier in this video that I wasn't really comparing it to the game all that much. And that's because I have a video coming out that is gonna compare it to the game. It's another in my series Adaptation Exploration. I'm gonna look at how it adapts the story from the game into a movie, and what it does with that. And yeah, so if you were hoping for more comparisons, please get excited for that. And I usually don't make announcements like that because most of the time those are reserved for patrons. So if you'd like to know what I'm working on ahead of the time, all the time, you should become a patron. And yeah, I'd like to give a special thank you to them now. Special thank you to all my patrons, including but not limited to Tree, Snick, and Perplexia Sphinx. Thank you all for watching. I know this is a bit of a shorter one, and I appreciate you coming by. I hope you liked hearing my spoiler-free opinions. I might make a non-spoiler opinion piece, like, way in the future, when this has a physical copy or is on streaming. Hopefully one or both of those things happen. But yeah. Thank you, everyone. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I hope to see you all again soon. Bye!